Information is everywhere. But insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you. We go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Morning.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you'll be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
Morning. It's such a beautiful Wednesday morning, and you are tuned to the breakfast show on Business Day television. We've got a packed morning ahead, starting with the morning news. We move to the newspaper review, and then right after that comes Business Morning, the big story and social listening segment to crown this breakfast show. Welcome to the Business Day television breakfast news. I am Akeminyobong Michael. Let's see what is making the headlines today. Market liquidity tightens as NGX value slides to 151.3 trillion naira. MDAs send 11.8 billion naira on fuel in 4 months. Nigeria's $5 billion swap deal triggers Fitch warning. Credit to manufacturers dropped 22.5% in 2025, according to MAN. Let's begin the news as a heavy wave of profit-taking and technical price adjustments brought the Nigerian Exchange Limited into negative territory during the week ended 19th June 2026. Forcing a 3.59% contraction in the benchmark all-share index to close at 235,941.27 points. Despite the decline, trading activities remained strong, with investors exchanging $3.08 billion shares worth 254.6 billion naira, with the financial services sector dominating market activity and accounting for over 67% of total trading volume. The banking sector recorded the biggest setback, with the NGX banking index plunging 10.49%, while market breadth also remained negative as 78 stocks declined compared to just 11 gainers. Now, analysts attributed the market downturn largely to profit-taking and dividend markdowns on major listed companies. Moving on, federal government ministries, departments, and agencies spent 11.85 billion naira on fuel for vehicles and generators between January and April 2026, a 113.4% increase from the 5.55 billion naira spent during the same period in 2025. Data from the Open Treasury portal showed spending on vehicle fuel rose to 6.60 billion naira, while generator fuel costs climbed to 5.24 billion naira, as the increase comes amid rising petrol prices and higher operating costs across government agencies. Other fuel-related expenses also surged. Maintenance costs for vehicles, transport equipment, and generators also increased by 164.1% to 4.39 billion naira during the review period. Analysts say the trend highlights the need for alternative energy solutions, including solar power, electric vehicles, and compressed natural gas, to reduce operating costs and improve efficiency. And in other news, the global rating agency Fitch Ratings has warned that Nigeria's proposed $5 billion total return swap financing deal could expose the country to additional debt and liquidity risks despite offering access to foreign currency funding. The agency said the arrangement, reportedly backed by local currency government bonds and facilitated through First Abu Dhabi Bank, could help Nigeria diversify funding sources and lower borrowing costs. According to Fitch, the deal could also expose Nigeria to hard currency pressure if the naira weakens or domestic interest rates rise, potentially triggering cost margin calls, pointing to Angola's experience where a similar arrangement led to pressure on foreign reserves during a period of market stress. Fitch urged caution, noting that limited disclosure and uncertainty over how such obligations could be treated in a debt restructuring could complicate risk assessment and debt sustainability in the future. To end the news, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria has raised concerns over a sharp decline in bank lending to the manufacturing sector, warning that it could slow industrial growth, job creation, and economic diversification. According to MAN, commercial bank credits to manufacturers fell by 1.92 trillion naira from 8.53 trillion naira in December 2024 to 6.61 trillion naira in December 2025, representing a 22.5% year-on-year decline. MAN's Director General Segun Ajayi Kader blamed the decline on high interest rates, policy inconsistencies, and delays in implementing the federal government's proposed 1 trillion naira manufacturing stabilization fund. The association called for lower interest rates, increased support through the Bank of Industry, the immediate release of the stabilization fund, and stronger incentives for banks to lend to manufacturers. That does it this morning on the Business Day Television Breakfast News. I am Akemini Obong Michael. Up next is the newspaper review.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny
Mama.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Mama.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Mama.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
Welcome back. This is the newspaper review segment of the Business Day Television Breakfast Show, where we explore major stories making headlines across the nation's newspapers. I am your host, Akemi Obong Michael, and with me is...
Good morning. My name is Mohammed Abiodun Akonji, and it's good seeing you again today. Kemi, how are you today?
I am
well done.
good.
It's been a very long while we did this.
It actually has been.
A year now we've done this,
It's
we
more
did
than
this
a year.
together.
If we think about it, it's more
Of
than
course,
a
more than a year. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good.
Wow,
I'm good.
I mean, it's actually been a very good night anyway. Maybe for African countries. I don't know if you have been following the World Cup. Maybe most ladies don't really follow it anyway. I know.
Don't say that.
Okay, I said most ladies. I didn't say all ladies.
Some ladies
I really follow it
probably.
too. I
but
know. I mean,
I myself, I'm not following.
So Africans have actually been pulling their weight. In fact, I think I was speaking to the producer behind the show about what Ghana did yesterday, and amazingly fit. You know, nobody gave them the chance, and then they played England, and in fact, a lot of people have, ruled them out. We were talking about how mighty England,
A lot of
Ghana.
people ruled Ghana.
And then before what actually happened was like we saw a Guinean team that was able to hold on their own, and they held England. I mean, at least they have a very good chance now. They can really progress to the round of 32. That's really good. Maybe DR Congo early this morning, that's like around 3 a.m. They played theirs against Colombia. They held their own. I mean, their goalkeeper was good, quite good. But of course, I mean, they lost. Congo DR lost. But, they lost. But it was actually a very good game, But I mean, but we still like the 10 African countries are really, really doing so well. Today, I mean, the major thing today will be about the South Africans. They are playing tonight, their final game. And
I don't want to say anything.
So the whole final game will be 8 p.m. tonight, which will decide whether they are going to progress or they'll pack their bags and return back to South Africa. We'll see
my goodness. Well, that's a very, very interesting run through of what is going on in the World Cup for the Africans specifically.
The Africans, of course, okay. Talk about the Africans for now. I mean, since Nigeria is not there, the only other thing we can be able to
support
the African brothers. And then, but some of them, as I said, are doing so well, like of Egypt, Cote d'Ivoire. Senegal disappointed 2 days ago. I think I was talking to the producer as well. I was like, how disappointing they are. Ghana did very well yesterday, despite shocking result. Nobody expected them to hold out England. And in fact, as at yesterday, they said there was a native doctor in Ghana who said that he's going to tie the leg of Harry Kane, the top smart man for England. And it more or less like come to pass because Harry Kane was nowhere to be found. He was not really firing as the usual Harry Kane that we know.
Maybe he's saving it. He's saving it for his next match. Exactly. So probably. All right, let's get to what we have from Business Day to Guardian, Punch, Vanguard, and of course, the cartoon of the day. Now, kicking off with Business Day newspaper as the story on the front page says, meet 16 heirs of Nigeria's powerful families vying for office ahead of 2027. Now, these families are vying for
the next office in the next election.
And that is not shocking in my opinion, because I believe that most times people that have the money, they would also want to, wield the power and control certain things.
And then, because it's back to the children, is that what you're saying? Okay, maybe. Because, I think, first of all, I think it's within their constitutional right. It's a fundamental right to do that. So I think we can't be able to fault them there. If you look at that story, our banner headline in Business Day, the journalists there did a very good expose of 17 powerful families. Maybe we can call it which of powerful families. The likes of the Oshobas, the Buharis, the Minister of Works, Umai's son that's also vying. And we have a whole lot of them, throwing their hats in the ring, throwing down the gauntlet. But as I said, it's very important to know that it is their fundamental human right. Once the rule of the Nigerian constitution, the section 23 there says that you have the right to vote and be voted for. So I don't think we can deny them or deprive them of that power, of that right, if they wanted to be able to exercise their fundamental franchise to do that. That's one. So, but the only thing there will now be, the discussions, especially
what are they vying for?
Babies. Maybe is the so some are going for Senate. For example, Segun Oshoba's son is going for the Senate in Ogun State. The son of the former president, Muhammadu Buhari, is also going for the House of Reps in Katsina. We have them spread across states here and there. In fact, there was a time in Lagos here that we had that the son of the president, the number one son, as they call him then, was vying for a position before I think he put that to bed, and that he's not vying. He's only going to be able to support his father. Available for 2027.
Yes.
Yet, okay.
We know it's yet.
What I'm saying there is all primaries have been conducted ahead of January 16 election. All primaries have actually been finalized. In fact, by tomorrow, June 25, parties will have started filling Form EC9, which is to be able to fill the candidate that will represent your party at the election in INEC. INEC will open that tomorrow. So May 30th, last month, was the final day INEC gave to all parties to conduct their primaries. Meaning that if you don't conduct your primaries by then, you don't have a candidate for the next election. That is understandable. So, because there's a timeline for all this. So the election is January 16, 2027 for the Presidential National Assembly, February 6 for the Governorship and State of South of Assembly, and INEC tomorrow on the 25th of June will open the portal. The parties that have conducted their primaries will now start supplying the names of their candidate for different positions. So President, National Assembly, people that are going for this position or that position. Parties will start uploading, I think they're giving like another 3 weeks, opening from tomorrow to ensure that all parties complete that process before now and July, so that by August 19, campaign will start officially. Well, that's the date for INEC. I never release all these guidelines. And the date for campaign starting. Nobody can campaign now. If you do that now, it's a violation of the Constitution.
Exactly.
So August 19th is what is actually expected. But we see powerful families. I mean, so what the question is, and I think if our listeners at home try to be able to read that particular story and subscribe to BusinessDay, they will see that the question Nigerians are asking are constantly about Nepo babies. Will these families, these powerful families, be able to influence the election because of that power that they wield? That's another different kettle of fish entirely.
But the question, another question would also be, what parties are they coming from?
Okay, so different parties anyway, and that's a very good question.
Which is a good thing.
Of course, because now INEC said that we have 19 parties that have been registered that will participate. 21 parties. I'm sorry, 21 parties. But now, because of the registration issues, we don't be able to have the clear fact yet. But by INEC standard, 21 parties are to participate in next year's election.
Okay.
But the question, just like you asked me, is how popular are these? How strong are these parties? Some of them are coming over the platform of APC, no doubt. Shegun was the former governor of Ogun State. His son is actually coming out. At the time we heard this daughter of the former president, Iyabo Obasanjo, came out for governorship election in Ogun State. I think he lost the ticket, and now she lost the ticket, and she has moved to PDP. They gave her the tickets there to contest for the governorship election in Ogun State. The Minister of Works, his son, is campaigning in Ebonyi State under APC as well. But we also have, different people.
But at the same time, speaking about all of this here, it also begs the age of these children.
Okay. So, of course, the Nigerian Constitution says that first, for you to vote, you must be 18 years.
Yes.
For you to contest for House of Assembly, you must be minimum 21. For you to contest for the House of Senate, that's the Nigerian Constitution.
Yes.
At least to vote.
Now, I'm talking about these children, children of powerful families, powerful families, because we've seen a whole lot of people above certain age grade that are supposed to be retired. In power. So now I feel like it's a good thing. I feel like it's a good thing
that they are coming on board, right?
That they are coming on board. Yes, we might not know what they have in stock and what they have in stock. Exactly. But the truth is, they're coming on board. They are young people, and that, in my opinion, is hope.
Yes, of course, it is. I mean, because as much as possible, and that is what we should. I think I was talking to Liz, was it on Monday or there about Ekiti State, for example. Let me just give her as a case in point. Ekiti had their election, gubernatorial election last Saturday, and INEC, according to INEC, even though there were some conflicting reports, but the standard report says that INEC said 1 million people collected PVC that registered to vote in the election.
Wow.
Good. 1 million for Ekiti State. I'm talking about that state. Good. But do you know how many people came out? Less than 400,000 people. Wow. What are the young people doing? They are Netflixing and chilling at home. They are playing football on the street. Okay, we are taking 1 million collected PVC. So where are they? Why did not come out? So if 38%, so sorry about that, Kevin, 38% of people that registered to vote actually came out. Is that representative enough? Imagine a student going for an exam and scoring 38%. I don't think that will be truly representative of what the state is all about. But you have no choice. The election says it's the majority that will carry the vote. So the 38% now, about 300,000 of them voted for the governor, the current governor who won a return. I mean, it's secured on that term. But the question is, where are the remaining 62% of the population? That's the question.
Well, I would like to add something on that, right? You mentioned that the young people are doing other things.
I said maybe that's what I felt so. I'm just saying maybe.
But at the same time, if you think about what has been going on, most people have lost hope. And that's why I said these young people from powerful families coming out would probably give hope and make other people want to either participate or vote. But at the same time, let's move on to the next headline. Now, one of the world's poorest nations is building its first stock exchange. Now, this is on BusinessDay's headline.
Yes, this is the Congo as well for the first time. They're building their own stock exchange market. It's DR Congo. And we know that DR Congo is the third poorest country in the world. Just two countries are behind them, Chad and Nigeria Republic. And now, capital market is a investment. It's the thing everybody should consider. I was talking to Liz as well, a colleague here, about the need to see into investment. I don't know if you've actually been following the stories and the news. Look at the buzz around Dangote's IPO, the refinery. Look at in fact, the SEC has to warn yesterday, because let's see, maybe should it be the information people are aware, because this is one of the easiest way. I don't want to say easy, I don't want to use the word easier, sorry, but this is one of the surest way to make money if people understand.
If you get in on time
Thank you
as
very
an
much.
investor.
But now is even a good time now, because now.
So Dangote's IPO?
No, I'm talking about the capital market generally.
Okay.
I'm talking about the way the market is doing very well. Look at our Dell. See our Dell, see Seplat, see MTN Nigeria, see Airtel Nigeria. You see how these companies are munching out returns because it's an indication of the economy stabilization anyway. If people could invest in them, maybe allow investment you want to do, if you want to do whatever you wanted to do there, for some Muslims say they don't want to do interest-based investment, there's MTN there that is allowed investment that does not have to do with interest. They don't deal with interest. So now the market is so liquid and the market is booming in terms of returns.
But
it's a boom
enter
and bust
the market
market
because you want to make money. Enter because you want to invest. People have to understand that in investment, you should do your research. I mean, visit BusinessDay's premium.businessday.ng and get all the information that you need to be able to invest, because most times
and it's very important.
People want to invest in what is trending.
And
they want to invest in the bull, but you don't know that the other parties are
doing very well. So, because the one thing about the market, and in fact, that is my story that's coming out tomorrow, was about capital reallocation. It's a premium story that we did about the kind of investment that can be unlocked across the world, not only in Nigeria. People are not only holding local holdings again. You now see Nigerians having stock, foreign stock as well. And that's why they always say in the stock market, remember the keyword, there are two keywords they used to say. One, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's always a keyword. True. And two, is of course, is a risk market, don't doubt. But the more you can go into it, the bigger the returns. Yes, the investment is there, but the information is very important so that we'll not have the case of financial global meltdown that we have in 2008, 2009. It's an important area on its own that we need to be able to encourage people. But I think it's very important you mentioned, not only the money you are looking at, invest, and you will definitely be able to get the returns if you invest wisely. So I think it is very important. So DR Congo, I think that's what they are doing now. Countries are seeing that light, you understand? They're seeing the light, they're seeing the need for them to be able to, because remember, it's a money, there's an idle money somewhere. Some people are just lying fallow. Some people need it to be able to turn that money into something. So it is what the capital market provided, that intermediation of the idle fund, to ensure that how the deficit unit that needed the fund, how can they get it? And they can promise you returns on those money. So instead of just keeping money in the coolers, because the piggy banks, that they call it those days, or under your bed at home, somebody can actually use it to invest in something, do a business,
and give you
that business can actually be able to give you a very big return.
All right,
so I think that's what the Congo is trying to do.
Now we're moving to other headlines, and we're going to move to the Punch. Now on the Punch, it says here, State Police Senate vote today as Tinubu transmits bill to National Assembly. And the rider also says that ex-security chiefs split over expanded powers for governors, and Senate set for historic vote as Akpabio rallies lawmakers. It also mentions that President sends constitution alteration bill seeking creation of state police. I've always been about state policing. There are the pros, there are the cons.
Thank you very much.
But truthfully, state policing is what we need in Nigeria.
I can't agree with you less. At this moment, I was never an advocate of it 2 years ago. I can't lie to you, Kevin.
Really? Why?
Yes, good. For two reasons. I think I mentioned it. One is the abuse of it by the state governors.
There's that.
Imagine state governors being in the hand of a despot or an authoritarian, a totalitarian governor. We have some governors like that are power hungry, that can be able to use it to their own advantage.
Either power hungry or power weak.
Power weak. That's power weak as well, you can imagine. And that second one is funding. We were talking about 70,000 minimum wage. Some state governors are still finding it. We were talking about Taraba State yesterday.
Yeah.
People that are sweeping the street, the governor has to reduce their salary. Now, let me tell you, the salary is 15,000 naira.
What?
And he reduced it to 10,000 because he want to accommodate more people. He said she couldn't pay. That's Agus Kefas in Taraba State. People protest. I'm just talking about 15,000, mind you. They are just sweepers. They're sweeping the streets in the state. In Jalingo.
But these states have allocation.
They have allocation, and that's what he was saying, because he said he want to reduce it because he want to bring in more people. So he want to cut out like 5,000 on existing people and use it to pay other people want to bring in. Now imagine such a state governor.
That's less than 10% of minimum wage.
Of course, it's far less than that. But the question I'm asking is, imagine that man with the state police again. Are you not burdening him the more? How will he pay those ones when he's struggling to pay the existing ones?
Well, I mean, looking at that, you realize that maybe from the money that was allocated for federal policing, maybe that can be pushed.
Because the question is, state at this point in time, I don't think they said you can't eat your cake and have it. The state cannot be controlling the police force, and at the same time be expecting the federal government to be paying them. I think we have to get that, because that's one thing. So the question now, today we hear the debate, should have been heard yesterday. The president has sent back the amended bill to the joint house, but because of the senator from Kebbi State that died, they have to postpone it to today. I'm really looking forward to it, to see certain amendments that will be there. That has been my own worry. I told you those two worries about abuse and about funding.
That's
been my concern. Yeah, my own concern. But now I cannot agree with you, Les, that we need it because of the level of insecurity, the ravaging level of insecurity. Because I believe that people, if you do local policing, we know our community better than. So imagine a Kemi, for example, that is being posted to Lagos and she's not from here.
Exactly.
She may not be able to understand the nooks and crannies, compared to maybe a Kayode, for example, that's a Lagosian who understood the nooks, and there's also a policeman here who will understood the place better than you. So that's exactly why we need to be able to ensure we decentralize the police down to that particular level. I agree on that particular perspective, but my worry, and which I would be hoping forward to look at the joint session today, is what are they going to do about abuse by governors, especially in the election period, and how will funding be done? But I don't think it will be foolhardy, it will be counterproductive for the state to be controlling the police and be expecting the federal government to be paying them. I think that would actually not be sustainable enough.
At all. All right, let's move on. Still on the Punch right now. U.S. blacklists Nigerian firms over ISIS funding. Now, this is a big story.
Over a big one.
In my opinion, because...
No, it is. It is.
I mean, so many things are going on. There is terrorism, there is insecurity, and now we're having financing from, oh my goodness.
No, I think it's just, if you look at the list that was actually released, this is part of the effort of the joint Nigeria-US engagement to be able to combat terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and all forms of insecurity issues we are battling with. So what name came out yesterday is only in Nigerian, because you can see it's in Nigeria, just one person. That was actually released in Ikeja here. They said he has a bureau de change. But we have to be able to get that, because it was the US government that released that story in the afternoon yesterday. I was in the office when I got that story. But they released other ones as well. A French Lebanese, somebody from Syria. They released some names, that are actually tied. This is what concerns us. But they actually see how these people are making money available. They're like conduits. They're providing channels for financing to reach all these terrorists. And you can see catch of arms, for example. And that is actually how unfortunate it is. Where I mentioned it here, I think that was the term, to the fact that this terrorism thing, this insecurity thing, is a business model.
It is.
And that is exactly what because the man that was mentioned there, maybe one Mukhtar Mohammed something was his name, the Nigerian, apart from other names, if our readers read that particular story from Punch, mentioned some other names, a Nigerian, a Frenchman, a Syrian, I think another Lebanese, and some other names like that. That actually connected. There are some firms with their firms. This Mukhtar Mohammed has a firm in Ikeja. They have one bureau they change. All these people that change money. Maybe that's where it's connected. We don't know the truth. It's the US government that released it, that story about making financing available. They are more like conduits to channel funds to all these terrorists, to all these bandits.
In this Lagos.
In Nigeria, in Lagos. That's where it's located. If you be able to read the story, with the story of him there. But it's just like I said, with other foreigners. They have close ally with ISIS. But of course, I think this is not new. 4 years ago, during Buhari's time, Dubai really told us about some Nigerians, released some names. Some of them were dealt with in Dubai, and some other names as well. Before we started seeing those names and some companies that are, what do we call them? They are slush companies that they use to be able to channel funds to terrorists. I know it's quite unfortunate, and this is actually why it's a systemic issue. And that's what makes it very difficult. I told you two things, because it's an ideology and it's a business model. These are two things, for example, because I'm Yoruba, people believe in something. They believe that, sorry, I don't want to say that in English, but they will say that unlawful, like your mouth is always the path to your grave. That people can do anything when it comes to, because it's a matter of a model. It's power. Even mouth, like that of what you feed it. If you want to stop somebody's business, he will fight you tooth and nail. So if somebody is actually making money from all this banditry, it will be difficult, because you're talking about, you are fighting them. I'm talking about fighting. So they too will be ready to be able to fight you, to sustain that their business. So, and I think that is just the unfortunate thing, that we need to be able to fight. It is not, it's a marathon, as I call it. I think it's not a sprint, to be able to deal with this banditry and kidnapping issues.
All right. Thank you for that. Now we're moving to The Guardian that says U.S. sanction expose terror financing amid growing security threats. Now this is, as I said, it's a very big story. That is
I'm sure most of the stories picked it today. They picked it because it's a terror finance, because in terrorism network, if you say it, if you look at it, it's a chain. There's a complex web of things that is involved. And this now, I think our collaboration with the US government is what is exposing all of this. At least we are able to now see their leaders. One of them was killed. If you remember, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Abu Bilal Mainouki was killed. And we've seen some of them, like, well, Nigeria has been arrested. Mohamed Batijo was killed 2 Mondays ago. And we're seeing some successes. And that's why maybe as media, we need to also be able to showcase this out there.
True.
Let people see that, okay, we too also, the banditry is there, the insecurity is there, but we're also fighting them. We're actually trying to be able to get some success.
All right, I would like us to speak on this particular story, mostly because it concerns Lagos. This is also from The Guardian. It says, Lagos state government partners with firms on 6,000 megawatt power supply targets. I am looking forward to the day that we're going to have actual power for the periods we pay for.
Okay, so I know. I mean, one of the contentious issues Nigerians are always so passionate about is about power. But now I think
is a lot. Power has to
of course everything. We can't fault people for that. I think it's understandable.
In fact, it even helps with water as well.
Of course, water. It helps with businesses. It makes productivity. It's very important. But I think I should mention 2 things. One of the things that this administration signed, I think we should commend them for a little bit, was the fact that they decentralize the power sector.
Yeah.
We wanted to be able to ensure that states cannot generate their own power, distribute it, track it, and transmit it. States are doing that. We've seen the case of Abia State now. Now, Lagos State too claimed that we are going to start our own in October. That's what brought about this. To ensure that Lagos will be supplying its own power. We have water that surrounds us here.
Yes,
gas, because the 2 major sources for us in Nigeria that we get our power from is gas and water.
But we need to broaden that.
Of course.
See, we have waste as well. We have waste.
Exactly.
In my opinion, waste.
It should be another source.
Power.
Exactly.
That should be another source.
Another very important source.
But before we wrap up, let's move to our cartoon of the day. Now, as you can see on your screens, you see a door open. You see a window rather open with a representative of a caricature rather of the president saying, hey, the window of surrender is still open. And if you look on the left below, you see a body on the floor, and you see the bandits, as we have chosen to call them, which they are not just bandits, they are terrorists. And they say, thank you, Baba, but we prefer door of business as usual. I mean, if you've already opened the door for these people, there is no possible way.
No, I think the one that this is actually a very good one, and I think we should commend. Is Mr. Suko? I think it's some of his with his inventive
very witty
ways. Well, very witty, exactly. But what is still generating a lot of controversy is the fact that can somebody call them? I mean, the minister of defense said they are prodigal sons. The NSA said some of them are like their brothers, of course, maybe of Nigeria. Well, they're Nigerians anyway. But
most of them are not.
Some of them are not, exactly. That's another thing anyway. And that's another very vital thing. But the question there is, when they surrender, the window of surrender, and then you come back to the land and you feel like I'm able to contribute your own portion.
Not just land, most of them are also in our security channels.
So I think that's what I try to be able to correct that. And I think I placed somewhere with somebody that when they have, there's a program in the military, because that's what my PhD is even on. I'm doing on terrorism financing and terrorism issues. Army has what they call DRR, de-radicalization, reconstruction, and reintegration. And reintegrate, as they call it, Operation Safe Haven, as they call it. The DRR program, they de-radicalized. I'll tell you one of the experiences I had when I was in Kaduna to interact with one of them. This guy was actually, he's a boy now, he's 18 years. But you know that he has been indoctrinated. He has been brainwashed since the age of 6.
It's difficult to change that.
So I'm not saying that, but he has got, well, they are training that they're going to school. Now the Nigerian soldier get this boy, was arrested. And now they are now telling him that most of what you heard from these people, now, what they told them, 3 things the boy told me, was that 1, they said, the more people you kill, the more the paradise you are going to have in the sight of God.
Yes.
2, the more people you killed, you have 70 virgins waiting for you. And 3, the government of Nigeria does not care for you. And that is exactly why we care for you. And you need to fight this government and the people of Nigeria who are against this ideology. And now they started bringing them on board. They are de-radicalizing them. They are reconstructing them. I think people like that, now one of them now even became a graduate in his school. So I'm just saying the window of opportunity should be there, but any one of them who took and harm against the nation will definitely be killed.
They should be.
Because that's what we are seeing them doing.
But yes, that has been the show. I have enjoyed conversing with you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming in, and thank you for joining us in the studio this morning. That is all that we can take for the newspaper review segment. Up next is Business Morning, which will be anchored by Deborah Eze.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Morning.
We are not just showing off businesses. We're telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges. Because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So
But as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. I mean, by eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and, start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for a smarter navigation, for customizable alarm, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Good morning and welcome to Business Day Television. We're bringing you our weekly program, Business Week, today. I'm joined in the studio by our editor of Business Day, Lolade, and of course, head of our Africa desk, Bumi Bailey. Today we have a very good and exciting lineup of issues that we'd like to talk about, and I'm sure that you would find to this program quite exciting. But before we get into it, let's remind you of the key business headlines this morning. Over 279 persons have been kidnapped in Nigeria in the month of May 2026, according to data provided by next year's Nigeria Violent Unit. JAMB has scrapped all affiliated degree programs run by colleges of education in Nigeria. And finally, on the domestic front, we noticed that the results for the Ekiti State governorship election on Saturday were promptly declared by INEC, probably much earlier than any other governorship election before it. What does this say about INEC and the 2027 elections? On the foreign scene, we hear President Donald Trump of the United States mounting fresh pressures on Iran and threatening new attacks on Iran if Iran does not behave and abide by the agreement both countries signed last week. Now let's get into today's conversation. We see and how do I say it? Optimistically, we see foreign exchange reserve accretion now reaching the central bank target of $51 billion. And there is the question about whether it has been helped by portfolio flows and where is FDI. But also more importantly, there is a debate around how do you allow the Naira to better find its level. Would that be what would be the central bank's new mandate or new target? But let's firstly, I think we must say that it's a great thing that we have reserves at about 17-year high, regardless of how we get there. So let's talk about that first.
Yeah. So like you said, I mean, I think it's positive that we have reserves at a 17-year high, $51 billion as at last Thursday, which is really good, given all the challenges that we've had in the past in terms of trying to build our reserves and how that has impacted the Naira. I think the CBN will take a lot of comfort in the fact that, yeah, they set that target and they've attained it. But I know that the only area of caution for them would be that because the flows are heavily dominated by foreign portfolio inflows, which could be out of the country like in a snap, there will still be a lot of, the CBN will still want to be very careful in terms of how it now opens the tap to ensure that it supplies the market with more dollars to maybe even force a significant appreciation of the Naira. I think the central bank will be careful because you know that most of these flows dominated by foreign portfolio inflows. You're not sure. I mean, and if you look at the breakdown, most of that money has gone into the debt market. So bonds, treasury bills, and all of that. You've got to repay those loans, right? So at some point, I think the CBN would now want to say the new focus might be also what is the composition of the external reserves now. A lot of it has been driven by FPI. Perhaps it's time for us to see more of FDI, and maybe perhaps oil receipts as well, non-oil exports, things like that. Those are more sustainable. And then if that happens, then it will give the central bank more impetus to really go into the market and do what most Nigerians would really want, which is to pump in some dollars into the system and then drive an appreciation of the currency of the Naira.
But would anyone say there isn't enough dollar in the market today? And everywhere you go, you can get dollars.
Yeah, of course. No, what I'm saying is the CBN will be thinking about the fact that if the bulk, what is driving the reserve accretion today is foreign portfolio inflows.
Inflows, yes.
So, and if the bulk of that is going into debt and not equity, I mean, if it was going to the stock market, it's a little bit more dicey. But for debt, it means that there's always going to be a callback period, a time where you've got to either roll over or repay some of
What can the CBN do about that?
There's nothing the CBN can do. So what my point is, the CBN will still want to be careful. Yes, you've hit the target of $50 billion on that short time, but I think they will still want to ensure that they will now start to look at the composition of the external reserves before they take any further action. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Bumi, what do you think?
When I actually saw the new 17-year, like you said, 17-year, it was quite interesting. So my own is that, how does that improve Nigeria ranking in Africa? Because I remember, I think in April, because of when we have more exchange reserves, Naira stabilized and all Nigeria, I think, had the highest, stock market in dollar terms, the highest return. Thank you. So, and I think I discovered 2 weeks ago, Nigeria also had that. Also, so I'm telling myself, does that mean that there should be a consistent sustainability in that return in dollar terms for Nigeria and what it spends? So,
yeah, because I mean, what good is your external reserves if you can't use it to defend your currency, provide buffers when there's need? But with what's happening around the world now, with geopolitical tensions, I mean, we said last week that the US-Iran war was over, but Trump has. It's clear that it's far from over.
Yeah, but it may not be over, but oil prices are continuing to fall every day. 70-something dollars this morning.
That can change the minute US hits Iran.
Yeah, but beyond that, you see, maybe we want to just discuss this and push it aside. I don't think there is significant vulnerability in that regard. I read a story in Bloomberg on Saturday predicting an oil market glut. That's the worry now, that the market is going to be oversupplied very, very quickly.
And which would mean prices would.
So it doesn't matter where, where Iran and the US are going. I think the oil market is beginning to rebalance itself.
I saw that report as well. But anything about the oil, predictions about the oil market, I'm always very careful. I remember that at the start of this year, we also said the same thing. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, they put out a report saying that there's going to be an oil glut. In fact, we were saying then that, are we sure, Nigeria, that we should go with the budget of $75, right? Or 60, was it 75 or 65 now? $65.
$65.
That we sure we should keep to that because of the glut, the expectation that would impact prices. But we ended up having oil prices shoot up.
I get you, and I think always you look at the risk and the high.
Also felt by trying to put an interest rate, they thought that when inflation will ease, it's time for them to put different interest rate. But with what's happening now,
Let's go back. Let's go back to the matter of FX.
Yeah.
The people who are suggesting that the central bank refine its own programs, move from FX reserve accretion to align some more defense of the naira to result or produce exchange rate adjustment. Are we being too hasty in this? Doesn't it make sense? I mean, over the years, watching the economy, what you hear is how many months of import Nigeria can fund with its reserve. We no longer bother about that now because we think that doesn't matter anymore. My thinking is that we need to be a bit more patient.
Yeah.
Allow the central bank just settle down.
Absolutely.
Just better understand the dynamics around FPI and other things before we begin to clamor for an appreciation of the naira.
Yeah. We shouldn't be hasty at all. I mean, we've had our fingers burnt in the past, so we need to learn from what has happened in the past. If you allow any quick appreciation of the currency now, it could just lead to profit taking. From those foreign investors, and then that would just unravel everything. So I think what the beauty of what is happening now is that everyone, like you said, there's dollar supply. We've not heard of stories about people going to the central bank to queue or to ask the governor for dollars at any rate and whatever like that. So we know that there's sufficient supply. The naira is predictable. It's been stable for so long. Businesses can plan. I think that's the delight for a lot of businesses at this time, given the dark days that they had to face in the past years. And let's not forget that there was even the time where we had the damning report about the true state of the reserves. And JP Morgan, which is our banker, said that Nigeria didn't have more than $3 billion in net reserves, and that really shook the market. It became clear why the central bank was trying, even though it didn't make any sense, against all odds, to keep the rate at the artificial level it was at the time. So, but now, that has clearly eased. There's much more dollar supply now, and, businesses are happy about that. And Naira is reflecting it as well.
So with what is happening now, like where do we see the average exchange rate and the average dollar exchange rate ending this year? Because last year we ended, I think, about 1539. So sorry, 1429, about maybe 1539, then from 269. So where does that leave us this year with what is happening? Because if you look at last year, and in fact, I think you started seeing the appreciation on the more inflow. That was like the second half. We started seeing it more, but now we are seeing it more in the first half compared to last year. So what
do you think about that question?
The way I look at it is, we said what is driving the foreign reserve accretion and the naira stability we're seeing is foreign portfolio inflows, right? What is attracting those foreign portfolio investors? Interest rates, right? Now, how do you determine interest rates? Inflation. So whatever happens to inflation would feed off on interest rate, and then that would impact the allure of your bonds and the likes that would incentivize more foreign portfolio inflows. So with the way it's going,
so there's all of it seem to be quite linked.
Precisely, it's all linked. So if we have, if it wasn't for the US-Iran war and the impact on oil prices and then the retail price of petrol, would have continued on this inflationary trend. By now, would have been talking about the MPC cutting rates perhaps at the next meeting, but we don't know where that is going to. But I feel like this year you might see 150 to 200 basis points cut in interest rates, because I think the clamor has gotten even louder. Things are stabilizing. People can't wait anymore to see the real impact of that trickle down, whether it's in terms of loan credit extension to businesses. So if that happens and then you see interest rates moderate a bit, then it might cool the inflows of but the fact that we have surpassed $50 billion now gives a lot of confidence. And I think most of the estimates I've seen are around 1,100, 1,200
end of the year.
Yes, to close the year, which makes sense. It's not overly ambitious, precisely. So I think that's where I'll stand as well.
Interesting. We were talking about interest rate and the central bank, whether it would move on rates or not. Cost of money is still quite high. What I find, and I think I saw a report not too long ago, which seemed to suggest that Nigerian banks are very quick to raise rates, but very slow in bringing rates down. That's another question.
The way I look at it is, we said what is driving the foreign reserve accretion and the naira stability we're seeing is foreign portfolio inflows, right? What is attracting those foreign portfolio investors? Interest rates, right? Now, how do you determine interest rates? Inflation. So whatever happens to inflation would feed off on interest rate, and then that would impact the allure of your bonds and the likes that would incentivize more foreign portfolio info. So with the way it's going,
so there's all of it seem to be quite linked.
Precisely, it's all linked. So if we have, if it wasn't for the US-Iran war and the impact on oil prices and then the retail price of petrol, would have continued on this inflationary trend. By now, would have been talking about the MPC cutting rates perhaps at the next meeting, but we don't know where that is going to. But I feel like this year you might see 150 to 200 basis points cut in interest rates, because I think the clamor has gotten even louder. Things are stabilizing. People can't wait anymore to see the real impact of that trickle down, whether it's in terms of loan credit extension to businesses. So if that happens and then you see interest rates moderate a bit, then it might cool the inflows of but the fact that we have surpassed $50 billion now gives a lot of confidence. And I think most of the estimates I've seen are around 1,100, 1,200
end of the year.
Yes, to close the year, which makes sense. It's not overly ambitious, precisely. So I think that's where I'll stand as well.
Interesting. We were talking about interest rate and the central bank, whether it would move on rates or not. Cost of money is still quite high. What I find, and I think I saw a report not too long ago, which seemed to suggest that Nigerian banks are very quick to raise rates, but very slow in bringing rates down. Is there anything that the regulator or the central bank can do about that, given that this is a free market, and the message it sends is that it's of less regulation and more market-driven?
Absolutely. I'm always very careful when it comes to conversations like this about what the regulator can do. The banks are a private business, right? They will go where there's return. You don't need to forcefully push them in a certain direction, right? If you feel like there's opportunity for them to extend credit and make some profits, lending to a business or a sector, they'll do it. If they're not doing it, it just tells you that there are still some loopholes. What I'll say is, I think it's not to look at what the central bank can do, but to look at what the federal government can do in terms of just de-risking the economy, de-risking those key sectors that bank credit is not able to flow to, because when they price the risk, they just get spooked and they run away, and they rather just go with the big corporates. They know what to expect. They know that they hardly ever fail, but the way I look at it, the banks, I feel like they definitely should be playing they should be playing a bigger role. If you look at their counterparts around Africa, just within Africa now, you see that, they're increasingly, partners in development, right? They always, try to, but the downside of that is if it goes bust, you don't want a situation where, they are holding depositors' funds, right?
Yeah, but
when
is it
you go to the bank, you can't get your money because they say, oh, we've lent the money to some SME and then.
Is there a story for us, Business Day, to be done in looking at the range between monetary policy rate and market rates in peer countries?
Yeah, I think ours is very wide.
We need to talk about
Absolutely. It's the second highest, right? Yeah, it's really.
Which is the highest?
Although they cut rate last week, which was
a bad company.
Then you have like, but well, I think when it's actually true that when the CBN cuts rates, the banks are always very. I don't even know if they actually cut interest rates or not, because if you look at peer countries like Kenya, I mean, when they cut rate, I think earlier this year before the Iran war started, immediately banks like Equity Bank
adjusted.
2 days adjusted. And another bank, KCB, also adjusted. So banks.
So the question has to be, why is it that Nigerian banks don't adjust as quickly as? Is it simply because of the old argument that banks in Nigeria don't really do banking?
And what is interesting is that banks like Equity and KCB, yes, fine, you have the loans where they also make their profits. They also saw rates cutting last year. But what they try to do is to look for other avenues for them to make money, right? For example, let's say they make money from deposits or co. Okay, what other things can they actually offer customers apart from them just putting deposits? What other services? What can they do? So that's what they think, because they know that because they are cutting, which is going to affect their bottom line. They're okay, what other services? What can we do to actually increase wealth creation? That's why we've seen acceleration in regional expansion. They are now seeing that more than 50% of equity, the group, comes from, I think, Congo and Tanzania and other subsidiaries. Yeah.
So I mean, perhaps an infrastructure deficit premium that the banks are adding
in Nigeria. That would be something worth looking at, but I think it's good to talk to a few not bankers. Bankers will always be defensive of their
specific.
I think we need to talk to other people who are looking at looking at Africa to just see what is wrong with our system. But the situation where you have banks running away from adjusting rates when MPC moves, I think is inimical. The MPC is supposed to signal, to the market, and you expect that players will follow that signal. If they don't, then there's something basically wrong there.
It's the anchor rate. But I don't support any form of stiff regulation.
No, it doesn't have to be stiff. The CBN cannot be powerless about that thing.
Because I wanted to share, I remember that there was a time in Kenya that they had something similar as well. They felt like the banks they were lending at very high interest rates. And then the central bank decided that, we're going to peg the amount that banks can lend to businesses at 4% of NPR.
Yeah.
And that collapsed. There was no credit going out. Nobody was lending. They just had to roll that back after 16 or 17 months.
Well, that's fine. Clearly, we don't want over-regulation. Nor do we prescribe on that regulation. A regulator should not feel powerless when something is inimical happening to the broader economy. We have to be careful about how we look at banks. Banks are not just like other private businesses. When banks collapse, governments spend money to bail them out.
True.
So to that extent, we expect that the regulator will be a bit more active in ensuring that banking institutions are made to behave in a decent, morally right manner. We will end for our first half of our conversation here, and then go on a short break. And once we come back, we would like to look at other important things affecting the economy, including just identifying some good signs around Africa where improved policy and governance are beginning to lead to better economic outcomes for the people of Africa. This is Business Week, brought to you by BusinessDay Television. We will be back after this break. Please don't go away. Once again, welcome to Business Day Television. This is Business Week. And before we went on break, we were looking at Nigeria's external reserve position and the debate around whether there should be a new target set by the central bank after it surpassed its desire to take external reserves to $51 billion. We'd like now to return our focus to the Nigerian Stock Exchange and what is happening on the exchange. Returns for 2026 have been phenomenal, at least for most of the equities. What's the kick? What is driving stock market revaluations?
So I think first of all is, the companies are doing better. Let's not forget that even with the Naira stability, a lot of companies that were hard hit by the devaluation, that were not even able to pay dividends, have started paying dividends again. So that has given some confidence to investors. You've seen 3+ years now of solid returns on the exchange, over 30%. This year already we're about 50%, and it's just halfway through the year. So I think optimism is really sky high. There's also expectations about the Dangote refinery and the impact that would have on the market. All of that is going on, but I think the month of June, you've seen it slow down. People are taking up profits.
I
noticed. And the latest,
whatever comes down.
Absolutely, yeah. So you see that the market has shed about 8 trillion alone in June, and that's really significant. Yeah, nothing to do with maybe fundamental change. Profit taking. People have to pay rent. They have to pay a lot of things.
And you know that there are a mix of investors in the market.
Yeah.
There are those who are looking for capital appreciation.
Yeah.
And once that happens to a particular level, they begin to sell down. There are those who are in for a longer term thing. So great. So is there anything after the sell down that happened in June? Is there anything that it's of importance to talk about as part of outlook for July?
Yeah. I think what to really look out for, maybe not July, but towards the end of Q3 now, would be our reinclusion on the FTSE index. The announcement that's remember, it's gonna happen in September, right? That once we are reincluded on that index, the markets would.
There will be another bump.
Yeah, because then you now be what that means is essentially putting the Nigerian stocks right in the face of foreign investors. There are some investors that cannot invest in a stock market that is not listed on the FTSE index. So once that happens, it then opens us up to a new wave of inflows from foreign investors, and that would definitely lift the market.
Is there a chance that some of the FBI will begin to migrate to the stock exchange?
Precisely. So that's also one of the reasons why we've seen that most of the FPIs that we've attracted so far has gone to the debt market, because of that FTSE exclusion that Nigeria has suffered for many years now. So once we are included on that, it definitely gives more confidence to foreign investors that we know what we're doing and we're getting things right. Because let's not forget that these same guys had their fingers burnt when, in the past, when, they had their money stuck in the market, they couldn't get it out because there was no dollars at all. So that reinclusion on the FTSE index just sent a signal that Nigeria has fully resolved all of that crisis and you can now invest again. So that would happen, and it's going to coincide with the Dangote refinery listing. So I think the market would really perform well.
Is there any idea when we expect the Dangote?
September as well, from what I've heard.
I heard August.
See, it's around
I heard August, September.
Let's see.
I heard August, September.
But the private placement went well.
Yes, I'm sure they've closed it.
Yeah, they closed it.
What do we expect? That the price at private placement will be slightly lower than the IPO price?
That's how it works, actually.
The way it works.
Yeah, so it was 35 cents, right, the private placement. So people are expecting that, if it does list, it'll be about 50 or 55,
There'll be about 15 cents gain, which is significant, near 50%.
Very significant, So that's the benefit of the private placement. So it's open to, just a select few investors, but it's also an avenue to ensure that they also get something for taking that position.
And then there's also a price discovery.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how big will it be when it happens? I mean, we think of the biggest until now being MTN. How big will this be? What?
I think it'll be bigger than MTN.
How much of a game changer will it be?
Yeah, it will be a very significant
In
game
fact,
changer.
I see many, I would say, foreign firms in LinkedIn saying that if Dangote lists, right, just combine Nigeria and maybe South Africa, maybe 4 other stock markets, stock markets, it might even be among top 10 in terms of biggest stock markets in the world. So a lot of stakes are high for Dangote's listing, boosting Africa ranking and also improving the value of our stock markets. Maybe it can hit I think South Africa's stock market is around 1.7 billion. Is it billion dollars? Nigeria is currently around that. No, is it trillion?
Trillion.
Okay, sorry, trillion. So maybe Nigeria could get to that.
So what we're talking about really with Dangote refinery, I mean, there is the industrialization of Nigeria and the industrialization of Africa as well. There is fuel security. There is a significant impact on stock exchange and wealth creation.
Yeah.
You're not talking about some other ranking that may become quite attractive. It's amazing how one investment, can turn the fortunes of a country.
It's really amazing, and kudos to the man, really. Kudos to him. He had an interview with some fellow from the US recently where he said that he feels like his net worth is actually
underestimated.
It's obvious now because Forbes and Bloomberg always say that listed companies, the only listed companies have Dangote Sugar, Dangote Cement, that's all. I mean, Dangote Sugar is below 1 trillion market cap, right? Dangote Cement is the most valued stock. So if you have, that's what I mean, people are expecting anticipation for the listing so that could actually see the value, and then maybe it could actually hit. If I see his wealth, I don't know. Maybe when he lists, I really can't estimate what his wealth will be, but it's going to be huge.
But the private placement values his business at $38 billion.
And that's roughly around the range that Bloomberg.
But where is it now?
Just the refinery.
Oh, okay.
Just the
refinery.
Wow.
So
that means that
he'll be closing to $78 billion
absolutely
in riches. Now, do we see any way Dangote IPO will open the door for other IPOs? Some people suggest that a number of people who were on the cusp of listing have chosen to wait for Dangote to go in and come out so that there will be a bigger size of a pool to get into. So do we expect that the market will see several other IPOs coming after the Dangote refinery, and in what areas?
I think the way to look at it is, I'm not sure if the Dangote listing would automatically open the door for other people to come and do their own IPO. What the challenges are still there. I think for a lot of companies, they don't see the real value in listing on the exchange because they're not sure of the kind of valuation they will get. So some of them rather go the route of debt. But with the IPO, I can understand if people are shelving plans.
Let's deal with that very quickly. When people go for debt, isn't that a muted way of growth or expansion? Is there something that is holding people back from going for heavy capital?
Very good question. So what I've heard, from the tons of interviews, we did a story last week just looking at how Nigerian corporates would rather
go to more expensive
cheap equity, and they'll go for expensive debt. And in the course of the interviews we did with some very
insightful
and what we got was a lot of Nigerians are not comfortable with relinquishing control of their business. So that's one big area. So they'd rather go it alone than go it together.
So going alone means in a narrow way.
Precisely. So you end up having 100% of a
40 billion instead of 50% of a 300 billion business.
Precisely. So that I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the part of the NGX now as well, in terms of just sensitizing people about the benefits of seeking equity instead of going the route of debt.
So
because
a
lot of businesses have died. I mean, if you look at the statistics that suggest that only 1 out of 5 businesses make it past their first 5 years in Nigeria, then it tells you that a lot of businesses are not going the right way.
I mean, over the past 5 years,
So
we
you
have
take
close
a lot
to
of
40 million.
Yeah, and then with the level you have interest rates now, I mean, it's suicidal to think that you do a business, you take an
But there's also interest rate, yes, and yet people go to do that instead of going to the capital market research.
Yeah.
All right. A final point for us today is to look at Africa. Some years ago, I was with Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and we're just relaxing on the corridors of the World Economic Forum in Davos. And she said something to me, Frank, very soon, or even now, we don't need to go out to Europe to look for good examples. We're beginning to see good examples around us in Africa. So very soon we'll be comparing ourselves with other Africans.
Yeah, and that's happening already now.
So that's happening already.
Yeah.
And I want us, to just put our hats on like a compass, just sweeping across Africa, mentioning where improvements in governance and policy are beginning to lead to better outcomes, economic outcomes for the people in Africa. So who else to start but our head of Africa Economics?
Well, it's just, I have, there's a lot, but let me start with IMF growth. I will actually talk about East Africa. So last year, IMF did a growth projection for the fastest economics for this year. So I noticed that out of 17, right, 15 were from Africa, but more than half were East Africa. And who is the African country leading that growth? Ethiopia. I mean, last year, growth was estimated around, let's say, 7.2%. But now you're reaching 9.2%, with the government also trying to target a double-digit growth, right? And compared to last year...
Don't run too quickly on this. We want to know what they're doing.
Okay, so...
that is producing these...
okay, so Ethiopia, currently, their calendar year is 2018. I mean, if you're aware, there are not... I think there are very few African countries that are not colonized, right? So last year, they did a major... In fact, since 2024, there have been a lot of reforms trying to open their sector to the foreign investor, because they've been closed for like half a century before they opened their economy, which I was wondering why.
We're not talking here about reforms that take money out of people's pocket, petrol and...
of course, in fact, and that was interesting for me, because I'm like, second most populated economy, why would their this thing be closed? But it's all thanks to the Prime Minister who was elected for the second term. I think that was Abima Emame, thank you. So what they actually did, right, for last year, they opened the sector to foreign investors. That's the banking sector that was closed for about, let's say, half a century, yes. So I noticed that when they did that, foreign investments came in. Currently, FDI is around $3.6 billion. And I saw a data that Nigeria was around 5.6. In fact, it's even edging towards that side. So... And I noticed that because of that opening of banking license to foreign investors to come in, a lot of African banking giants have also said they're going to come into the market to leverage into that population. Apart from that, they also opened their retail sector because they're trying to take opportunity of their population. There's a retail company, French retail giant called Carrefour. So he said that they were actually going to come in and open branches and create jobs, and which would actually increase the purchasing power of their consumers, which would automatically lead to increase in economic activity at all. So, but apart from that, also, I think they also have IMF-backed reforms that they are doing currently. They are expecting a loan from the IMF, which will help fund their budgets. And then we also know Dangote, which is also coming in. There was an investment. In fact, what was interesting for me is that last year, Dangote said they were limited investment of 2.5 to actually build a fertilizer plant there. And this year, he increased it to 4 billion. And why he did that was that Dangote is an opportunity. There was something he says that he wants to be known as someone that industrialized Africa. He has done it from Nigeria. What's the next country is looking at? Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Because of the population. That is what he wants to look at. Do you understand?
in Ethiopia, that population is a better measure of the size of the market than Nigeria.
Exactly. And with the reforms that they are doing, they are trying to increase the purchasing power of consumers, bringing in foreign investors. So here is an opportunity. And why it's actually a good time is because the Iran war even, I think, might have made him, in my opinion, push his investment. Because everybody was saying that it's actually going to increase inflation because Ethiopia, with the help of the reforms, entered single-digit inflation for the first time in like 2018. That was in December. But the Iran war, double-digit, but they are trying to go back on track. So he sees the opportunity, and that is why you have the government, the prime minister, trying to do everything they can to bring it, because now they've seen the value of foreign investments coming in. I mean, when they opened their economy in June, right, for foreign investment, we in the space of, I think, was it August, September, that investment rose to about $3.8 billion.
What other economies in Africa are we
another one we should also
closely?
Kenya. Although Kenya. So what is interesting is that Kenya is majorly known as, I would say, the financial hub. Yes.
It's the largest economy in East Africa.
Yeah, and has always been.
Are you aware that Uganda was the largest before Kenya?
Yeah, maybe at some point.
Yes.
And Kenya has always been a preferred destination for Americans and Europeans.
Interestingly, so I actually noticed that I was asking myself that why is it that Kenya stopped issuing banking license in 2015? They stopped that in 2016. So I guess they were trying to protect their local banks because I would say around that period, they've allowed that to come in because the likes of Bailey and maybe Standard Chartered were coming in. Do you understand? So they had to now stop issuing banking licenses. So, but when they now opened that, I think that was 2025, we see a lot of majors, big banks from South Africa and Nigeria coming in. But I think my problem is Access Bank Kenya hasn't really, I've not really heard much about the acquisition with National Bank of Kenya, because the reason why the major acquisitions are coming in is because Kenya banking sector has I would say a capital requirement, a core minimum capital requirement. Is about, let's say, 3 billion shilling, right? That was for 2023. 2026, they increased it to 6. But the problem is most of the major big banks like Equity, KCB, IMA, and I think APSA and some other banks, they've been able to meet that requirement. But banks like Access Bank Kenya and maybe Capital Bank have not been able to. So that is why they're like, let's us lift this band so that many banks will come in and merge and be able to meet up that capital requirement. Because that capital requirement has been increased to about 10 billion
Unlike
2020.
I wanted you to talk also about, I mean, in Ethiopia, we're focusing not on banking, we're focusing on industrials. The changes that we see, positives we see in Kenya, mostly financial institution related. What other country is it that we're seeing changes that about industrialization and making significant impact on the lives of the people?
I would say Egypt.
Egypt as well.
Yes. So Egypt actually, what they're also trying to be an industrialized economy too. And because of what they've been doing, one of the ways is because they are very close to Europe. I mean, most Northern African
countries, close to the rich world.
So they are now trying to find out ways to remove bottlenecks to exports. What they're also now trying, and by doing that, they also have to try and improve the manufacturing up and make, I would say manufacturing cheaper. That's what they do that by bringing foreign investors. And that is why I told you that in 2024, because of the Gulf, the investment from Gulf countries, it rose to about 46. That's even more than half of $97 billion that Africa got in last year.
Yes.
So they were able to do their reform. One of the reforms they did was, I think, what Nigeria did, exchange rate depreciation, devaluation, So when they did that, they were like, okay, what reforms can we put in so that foreign investors can quickly bring in their money? Do you understand? And that is what they did.
Yeah, the Egyptian pound initially took a bit.
It did. Is that I think it was around. It's still around that 46.
So what is there one more country as we begin to round up?
What about Ghana?
Thank you.
so.
About Ghana.
Yeah.
I think Ghana has just simplified their business registration process to the point where a lot of businesses that would maybe 10, 15 years ago would have set up shop in Nigeria and increasingly
now going to Ghana.
Yeah.
Yes.
They don't have the infrastructure problems that we've got. They've got stable electricity. And registering a business takes next. I mean, Mauritius, I think Mauritius would be the easiest example. Yeah. Easier to fast
and Rwanda
very close.
Ghana is making good progress.
Yeah, they are thanks
They're
to
attracting a
Mohammed.
lot of
Like Mohammed has been doing a lot of traveling. There was something that he did, I think last year. I think it's something in the workings where there was like a cap on foreign FDI investments last year. Although investments is still very minute.
I heard he's
right?
calling some foreign investors to come and invest in Ghana.
Yeah,
We're talking about that.
Let me tell you a story told to us by the BCG, not BCG, the McKinsey Global CEO. He said if he were head of state of Nigeria, he will make a point of calling 5 global CEOs every month. I'm not in Nigeria. And he will ask them, why are you not in Nigeria?
Yeah.
What can I do to bring you?
Yes.
So in 1 year, assuming he does that for 10 months, in 1 year he would have called 50 global CEOs.
Yeah.
If out of that 50, even if it is 10% that counts, that is 5% every year.
Yeah.
Over an 8-year period, that is 40 global companies coming to Nigeria.
But there's something you have to notice that this country is having.
You have to be intentional.
You have to be
This
intentional.
things just don't happen.
It's not just by
When you are
doing a
attending
reform.
political meetings,
It's not just
and
by
dealing with
just
the economy of your
implementing a
country.
reform, but how you've been able
everyone
to
is-
sustain that. I mean, look at Ghana. Why is Muhammad going up and getting investors? Because
You see,
gold prices.
the point is, let me just say that very quickly. When I, as publisher, call someone, doesn't matter what you think, it will make more impact than when you call him.
Absolutely.
When the president of Nigeria
His phone to call.
calls the president of JP Morgan,
Yeah.
the man will be saying, Mr. President, anything you ask us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that is the approach that Mahama is taking.
Yeah.
And he is, of course, recording the impact.
Again, I don't even know if I think there was a time when JP Morgan came to Nigeria. I think he was meant to see Tinubu.
Last year or 2 years ago, I remember because they had a small meeting
that he met. It's a turn off that you know what it means for JP Morgan to come to your country, and then you now.
You know what we're going to do? Next Monday, we're going to dedicate our whole program on talking about FDIs and why Nigeria is missing, or why Nigeria is more of a destination for FDI.
Yeah.
Well, Bumi and Lolade, thank you very much. We will bring our program for today, Business Week, to an end. I have already given you a hint of what we'll be doing next Monday. That's even more incentive for you to be with us on Monday for another edition of Business Week. My name is Frank Aibobu. Thank you so much for joining us. You take care and have a great business week ahead. Bye-bye.
Information is everywhere. But insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps, Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shred of doubt.
Lagos is moving to tighten its health insurance systems, introducing reforms aimed at stopping residents from enrolling only when they need expensive medical treatment and leaving once they've had received care. The state says the practice threatens the sustainability of the health insurance scheme and could undermine efforts to achieve universal health coverage. But are these reforms necessary? And what do they mean for ordinary Lagosians? Hello and welcome to the big story right here on Business Day Television. This is Business Day Breakfast Show. My name is Akiminiobong Michael, and joining me this morning to unpack this development is Dr. Emmanuel Olowokere, medical doctor and public health commentator. Dr. Olowokere, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good, I'm good.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right, that's beautiful. I hope your day, your Wednesday is going good.
Yeah, it's doing well.
That is great to hear. Okay, so we're speaking about healthcare in Lagos and healthcare financing. Now, from a healthcare financing perspective, how serious is the problem Lagos is trying to address? How serious is this problem?
So kudos to Lagos State. Lagos State is a pace-setter state when it comes to health financing and health management, and I have to give it to them. Yes, we all know that there might be some other things that we need to get in place and fix, but we can see that there's an active movement and there's active results that they are getting. So I think for them to just finalize and dot the I's and cross the T's and ensure that we can compete with at the worldwide level majorly. So that's just the major thing. So I think he's getting better by the day, I guess.
I mean, we all think so too, but at the same time, health insurance is built on, risk sharing. Now, would you possibly explain to us why enrolling only when sick creates a challenge for the system?
Okay, so we all know the traditional adjust system, the traditional thrift collection for money, right? If someone starts paying from January, February, March, then someone comes in at August and wants to start paying at August, there's already an issue with the distribution, right? So what happens is that if you just
coming to the States when you need health, maybe you have an emergency health-wise and you need people like you want to come in at that particular point, it affects the contribution. And health financing comes with saying that maybe 100 people have donated a particular sum of money that has been serviced over the month. Interest and all of those multiplication has come into it, right? And so it's very easy to cover for people that have been active contributors into it, right? But if they are not active contributors and are just trying to break in into the system, which yes, we want many people to be enrolled, the executive order is to ensure that everybody in Lagos State is part of the health insurance, whether by the Lagos State, but they must be part of one health insurance. And this executive order came with NHIA, right? So, and it was from the Lagos State governor, right? So, if you now say, okay, I've not joined for the cycle, maybe from the beginning of the year, and I just want to come in and get treatment immediately for what people have contributed for over the years, then it kind of creates a imbalance in the whole system. So that imbalance is what major health insurance, both private and maybe the public health insurance, are trying to mitigate against. Not necessarily because they don't want people to get insurance, but because they don't want a situation whereby you create like more or less like an imbalanced system in the whole plan or project. So that's what people. I think that's where the issue is majorly.
All right. Now, speaking about, well, according to Lagos, that is, this trend is described as a form of medical tourism within the scheme. You know, people going into the hospitals when it is that they need care and then just leaving like that. Now, is that fair for characterization?
But it is what it is, right? You can't. It might sound a little bit. People might not like the sound of that, but that is what it is, right? If I step out of the country today and I'm going to the UK for a treatment, I'm going to the UK for that treatment. Is medical tourism, right? But if I've been in the UK and I've also been contributing my tax and all of those things, and I get into the system and I say, okay, I want this, then I can have it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? There's no, this is not a case of, we understand that we are citizens and all of that, right? But we all know that out of pocket care for healthcare can be on the high side sometimes, depending on the condition. Yeah. In as much as that is sad, right? And with all humility and all honesty, it can be sad and it can be a whole lot for people majorly. But the best, you can't say, oh, you're not part of the system. You want to just join the system because you want to gain the benefit. So it's more or less like after the benefit, you're not even part of the people that contributed the money that maybe the organization, whether private or public, have been using to financing other people. You just want to get into the system and just like eat out of the system without being a major part of that system. So that's like the way it is. So it's medical tourism. They might not like the sound of that, but it is what it is. That is the truth.
Wow. Now, speaking about this medical tourism, and I do understand that most people or some people might have actual ailments that they need care for, yes, and most of them might be in the area and step in and do, get treated and move back to their regular life. Now, how can we check this in Lagos? Is there any possible way for stricter enrollment rules to be put in to discourage some people from joining the scheme altogether?
So I think according to the policy, right? I'm aware about the some of the private organizations policies whereby if you get enrolled into the scheme now and you are not, and it's not like a organizational enrollment, maybe it's not from a company whereby there's a minimum number of people they take. If you are just doing an individual enrollment, it takes a year before some of your treatment. When I mean some of the treatment, so is a plan, right? And they have various things within the plan. So for some of the various things within the plan to get active, it takes a year of like you must have paid for a year. Then it is after a year you have access to these things, right? Now, for example, now I'm not saying this is exactly what they do. I'm just using this for the sake of this conversation and as an example, right? If you say, okay, maybe you want to go for an arthroscopic surgery, right? And as part of the plan. So for some, it takes a year before you can have access to an arthroscopic surgery, depending maybe you are going for a premium, you are going for a gold package, you are going for a silver, depending on the package you are going for, right? There are some part of it that doesn't become active until after a year, right? Now, there are also some part of it that maybe when you pay, like maybe we are paying for premium, there's some part of it that becomes active immediately, because that means that you have added more money into the system, into the pool of money, right? So for what they call it, for public organization, I think this also applies, because it's like how I say it, a treatment is going to be for 10 million. Now this is also an example. A treatment is going to be for 10 million. We say you should come and pay maybe 20,000 or 25,000, maybe a year or per month, depending on how you want to go about it, right? And your treatment is 10 million. If they put 10 million, we go by the division of 10 million. You have literally taken money of maybe that 200 or 300 people contributed into the pool. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So the beautiful part of it is more people should get into the pool, then you can easily be able to take out some tangible amount of money from the pool when you have more people in the pool, right? So I think it's just strong policy design and strong communication of the policy that helps people to understand what they are getting into, and what also helps the organization to ensure that they have a good customer service for people. So I think that's just it.
You spoke about more people coming into that pool. Now, another question I would like to ask is, how can it be balanced? If more people get into the pool and say the prices are increased, how about the low income earners and the vulnerable residents? How are they going to survive? What policy can be put for them to adapt to it?
So we all know, as we do our like the payee tax, which whereby people that earn more, which was a new structure that was proposed by um, um, what they call it, Dr. Taiwo Yedili, I think before he became a minister, when he was still working on the tax reform policy. I'm just using this, like I'm trying to do like a comparison of that to this when it comes to insurance too. So for that, for people that earn more, if they have the benefit of, they can pay more, right? Meaning that um if I have someone that is on chronic, he has diabetes, has hypertension, and obviously these are chronic conditions, and I know that to an extent there will be management across the months, across the years for that kind of person. Yes, I can pay what is like needs to take care of that person for that particular period. I don't mind paying. Now, for people that maybe, oh, they are also low income earners, I think the truth is that there has been a lot of diversification, especially from Ilera Eco. And that's one of the things that I think I appreciate the Lagos State, because I think for enrollment is like 15,000 naira, right? Now, the major issue that we need to also discuss is that in as much as we can communicate and promote this, even for vulnerable people, is to ensure that there's good service delivery. And service delivery is in two sides, meaning that the HMO in quotes, the health management organization or the insurance company, depending on who they are, must ensure that even the providers of these services must be well timely paid. The word I'm using is timely, because it's one thing for me to say I'm ready to collect 1,000 naira per treatment. It's another thing to say that I'm not waiting 60 days or 40 days or 30 days to collect that 1,000 naira. Because what it means is that whenever you partner as a service provider with health insurance or health management organization, you are looking at, okay, what are the numbers? What are the numbers for me to even make a profitable gain from this? So it becomes a numbers game. It's not necessarily a price margin. It's not necessarily, oh, this is the markup on this is the markup on that. It becomes, okay, how many people are coming, and how many people that are coming that can I use to service my own company or my own business for that time being, or to even service my own, like my own service, if it's a doctor, if it's a physiotherapist, if it's a whatever health practitioner it might be, you get. So that is where the little pain problems are. So it's not a case of whereby, oh, we have people that are paying high and the vulnerable people are left behind. the case is that if vulnerable people are paying 15,000, paying 10,000, paying 5,000, they should also get that service that is commensurable, and people that are providing that service should also be well compensated. Now, but where the disbalance comes in majorly is that, number one, the people that are paying 5,000, 10,000 are entitled. And it's not a case whereby you should not, like, yeah, you should expect the level of service. But you should also know that level of service also comes, like, I don't want to say, because excellence is saying that if someone pays 5,000, answer the person on time, even if it's 5,000. Give the person the level of service. So where we have the issue now is that if someone pays 5,000, the level of service the person that pays 5,000 gets is not commensurable to the level of service of the person that pays maybe 20,000 or pays 50,000. So that's also an issue that comes in when it comes to health management organization and health insurance majorly. So for me, I'll say that for people that have the resources to pay more, they should pay more. For people that are vulnerable, they should pay what they can pay and get access. Again, if you look at it from a very holistic point of view, which is preventive measures are always better than curative measures. If it's for prevention, things can be cheaper. Do you understand? I can attend to you at that rate that you are paying. But most of the time, because of the health seeking behavior of us generally, I'll have to put all of us together. Some are better, some are not better. Like the health seeking behavior is that we is when more or less like we're sick. Like it has affected our work. We can't go to work, we're shaking. That's when we know that, oh yes, I need to go to the system. I need to go and check now. Which sometimes can be deadly or it can be painful because at that point you need to spend more money to take care of yourself. So I think that's just it.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Now, speaking about it being a numbers game, yes, we understand that we have the numbers in Lagos, but can the numbers really afford it? That's another question. And apart from that, many Nigerians, still prefer to pay out of pocket for healthcare. And the question is, what do you think it would take to build a stronger health insurance culture? Because people, as you mentioned, we don't take our health seriously. We always want to, at the last minute, when it's about time, we now say, you know what, it's time for us to go to the hospital. We're not proactive when it comes to health insurance or healthcare generally. But what do you think it would take to build a stronger health insurance culture in, Nigeria, but starting with Lagos State?
Okay, so I appreciate what there should be a bit of I think people are doing it and are doing it at the best of their capacity, but yeah, it can be encouraged, which is by um there's proper education. It starts from education, and now this education doesn't mean that people are illiterate, even literate, right? I'm not sorry. Literate don't have basic understanding about how health works. Most of the time is essays and like passed down conversations. So we still need to do a bit of health education, and I think I give it ups to the likes of them, Aproko Doctor, Olawale, Bearded, guys that are doing an amazing job, and people that are doing it within their own little spaces, their own little sphere of influence. Do you get? They're trying to educate people. The truth is that when you listen to people and it comes from the outside, but I've seen a lot of cases whereby people talk about doctors, speak ill of doctors, speak about the hospital, but you don't understand how it runs. Now, I'm not saying that we can't do better as healthcare professionals or healthcare organizations can do better, right? They can also do better. So the first thing is that we educate people properly to say, when you pay this, the reason why you are paying this is that you can easily walk into any primary healthcare center and do this. And again, most people don't even know that there are primary healthcare centers within their vicinity. If you go, the rule of primary healthcare center majorly is that within 1 kilometer to where you are staying within a particular area, there's a primary healthcare center. So the same way where we have places to vote, there's always like a primary health center within those wards, depending on how they do the distribution. So you can easily enter into any of your primary healthcare centers, do what you need to do. And the truth is that primary healthcare centers have what it takes, like at least the basic whatever to take care of people in terms of prevention. not necessarily cure. Meaning that, oh, I want to do my blood pressure, I want to do my height, I want to check my BMI, I want to check my fasting blood sugar. They have those basic things. Yes, can it be better? Yes. Are there better facilities? Yes. But can it be better? Yes. In Lagos State, there's a fair share of doctors at these primary healthcare centers that run rotational shifts and all of that. In some other states, right, they don't have that amount of people, and that's why maybe there's a good way, which I know that some organizations like CareVot are doing, like a telemedicine partnership with some of these Oyo states, like with some of these states, right, whereby you give them access to a doctor when they don't have a doctor within those facilities, so people can speak to a doctor within 5 minutes, within 5 minutes you talk to a doctor and get what you need, right? And that's at the primary healthcare level. And primary healthcare level is like one of the most basic healthcare level. And you can't joke with a basic, because at the basic is where you can enforce and ensure more of preventive medicine. Now, on the other hand, is that the organizations that signed up to some of these are service providers for some of these insurance health management scheme, right? They need to ensure that, right, they also give the best of services. I understand that people can be irritable, people can come in, like now you can have a service provider that is saying, oh, I'm not doing emergencies, but I'll attend to you. But people don't know what is an emergency and what is not an emergency. So in cases like that, they come in with an emergency and they start disturbing you. They come in with non-emergencies, but is emotionally laden, which I don't blame people, because we are all human beings, right? And they will not say when there's actually a genuine emergency. So you see that where that issue is. So it's like I come in with a non-emergency case. As a doctor, I've spoken with you, I've understood that, oh, this is not an emergency, right? But on the other end, I'm dealing with an emergency right there. So you have cases whereby people will be shouting at you or be expecting you to take a non-emergency over an emergency. So what do we really do at that point? Again, it boils down to education and explaining. Although the onus lies on the healthcare professional at that particular point to do a concise explanation and communicate properly to let them know, oh, sorry, this is an emergency. This is a case of a life.
Dr. Emmanuel? All right, I do not know what has happened with Dr. Emmanuel, but we have run out of time. I'm very grateful and appreciative to Dr. Emmanuel for being present today and telling us more about the health insurance in Lagos State. Now, that's been it on Big Story today, where we examined how Lagos health reforms are bridging the healthcare gap. I am Akemini Obong Michael, and up next is Social Listening with me.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you, we go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Morning.
We are not just showing off businesses, but telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast,
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you'll be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So it's
as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So, the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. By eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for a smarter navigation, for customizable alerts, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
If it's sparking conversations, then we're bringing it to your seats. Welcome to the social listening segment, where we bring you the stories, debates, and moments generating conversations across social media. I am Akiminiobong Michael. Now, let's get into what is making waves online. The first story making waves on social media is the recent news that security forces have reportedly surrounded the suspected hideout where the abducted Oyo school children and teachers are being held. This comes amid claims by supporters of Sonny Igboho that he played a role in efforts leading to the operation.
And I can assure you, within the shortest possible time, those children and their teachers will be freed.
Okay, so we learned that the bandits have downplayed their request for the release of some of their leaders and are now asking for ransom and release of some foot soldiers. How true is this, sir?
Well, we don't know anything about ransom because we don't talk about ransom. So all efforts are directed towards getting the abductees freed from the captives.
All right, so
okay,
back
visit
to
in
this
Lagos.
your visit. So what geared your visit to the Lagos State Command?
Well, this is a working visit, is to strengthen supervision, and is to have heart-to-heart discussion with our officers and men on the field on the method, review our method, and adopt method that we contend effectively with the emerging security challenges facing the country.
What will you be going back with after your talk?
I'll be going back with a lot of observation, a lot of complaints from the command, and I'll present that to the IG. And the management team will work effectively on them. Top on the list about the complaints.
Of those things you intend to take back.
From your observation.
Oh, my observation so far. Well, a lot. Top of the list is looking at how we are going to improve manpower, which is also on the line. You are aware that 40,000 policemen will be recruited, and the recruitment has even started. Another area of importance is talking about the welfare of the men, which is also of paramount importance to the IG. And looking on to a situation where some of the things mentioned by, you had the CP speech, some of the things mentioned regarding logistics are adequately provided. Determination of the IG is to motivate the men to perform optimally. The welfare for the men is so paramount to him, and honestly, he's working very hard on them.
How is police leveraging on technology to tackle insecurity?
Oh, I said it in my speech that the IG is passionate about technology. We have a data center in the first.
The development comes more than a month after the abduction of 39 pupils and 7 teachers in Orire local government area, an incident that triggered nationwide outrage and renewed concerns over school safety. While the rescue efforts intensify, conversations online remain hopeful and focus on the need for swift action to Nigeria's growing insecurity challenges. Let's see the comments on this. All right, we have Oscar Boy AK that says, only mouth, secondly na Sakaba won't fight with AK-47 and 49. I'm not very sure this is in English, but he says we they follow you. Okay, let's see another one. And this is from Keresema. She says, is this not the same thing South Africans are doing and we are condemning them? I totally agree with you on that one. And then we have Kachala Ardo Usmanu, who says, why is this terrorist Sunday Igboho allowed to threaten peaceful Fulanese in the name of fishing out criminals? Who gave him the power to send people out of any part of Nigeria? That's a very questionable remark from Kachala right there. I mean, we will see how the results turn out. And well, those are the comments that we have for now. Now for the second conversation we have here, it says Nigerian singer Skills has sparked conversation online after declaring that no presidential candidate deserves his vote. That which I understand. Now the comment was made in response to a tweet asking Nigerians their likely candidate for the next presidential election. This has drawn mixed reactions, with some Nigerians echoing his frustration with the country's political class and expressing disappointment with the quality of leadership on offer, while others argue that apathy is not the answer. Let's see the thoughts on this. Let's see the tweets on this. All right, this particular one is from Skills. Now, according to him, he says, lol, you don't understand one thing. You don't understand. One thing is that you'll be fine. But I see what other people go through and it hurts. But I got to tell you for a fact that I ain't seeing a worthy candidate that I trust. None. We need younger politicians with vision, innovation, etc. Not all this we have now. And I totally get where he's coming from. The good thing is that, you know, most of, as we mentioned earlier, we spoke on Big Story, rather during the newspaper review, that there are younger people now coming into power. All right, we have another comment here. This one is from AA. He says, hello at Young Skills. I dare to tell you that you don't have the slightest idea of the cursing and the blackmail coming your way from the obedience camp, having refused to choose their candidates. You go one cry. Okay, I really would like to see some receipts on that particular tweet. And this one is from Ugo. Ugo says, we've seen how incapacitated most of the so-called younger politicians can be. Yahaya Bello and Bosun are perfect examples. I would rather you say active and competent politicians altogether. I'm most marveled at your naivety. And this is from Ugo. All right, those are the tweets that already have one more. All right, this is from Serena. Serena says, younger politicians with vision. So why don't you contest? And as we don't have the younger politician at the moment, none of the candidates is better than Tinubu. That's the Showore, Duke, Obi, Guy are not making sense, I beg, and nothing the country is going through is hurting you, no lie. All right, well, the sentiments are really going around if you think about it. Most people do not believe that several people should still be in places of power. I mean, younger people should get into the coffers and make the changes that they want to see. And finally, the popular actress Osas Ighodaro is sitting on the trend table after the release of the trailer for the new Nollywood-Bollywood series called Imported Baho.
Who's this you brought home?
Zara is my wife.
Bahu, madam, you asked for imported things. Arjun Baba brought imported Bahu.
There's a small mole on his lower back. Please don't ask me how I know it.
And he has another, even lower, that you will never, ever get to know.
What's happening here?
It may unleash the truth that the Mera Parava may not be ready for. This can't be true.
This is true, Ma. This is true. And in return for this, what does she? 51% of the.
This has generated so much buzz as Nigerians wonder what this Nollywood-Bollywood entertainment collaboration will bring. Celebrating the global move and the empowering role that flips the traditional Bahu trope. Let's take a look at some comments. That's clap back. This is from Jennifer, doing what works. Jennifer says, that clap back from Osas to the supposed future wife is so classical and epic. I totally agree with you, Jennifer, on that one. Mazi says, you people want to finish Housewives pata with this Nolly Bolly fusion. I love the expansion. Congratulations, girl. Well, congratulations to Osas. Let's see more of those tweets. This is from Chiamaka. Chiamaka says, wow, finally, dancing emoji. I can't wait to watch this. It's been long since I watched Bollywood series because of their, according to her, mumuness. Seeing you there will be a 10 over 10. That is quite interesting. And I too totally agree with that. Congratulations to Osasi Gadaro, because that is a big one, stepping into another industry, another movie industry. And we're looking at more collaborations like that for other, actors, actresses, and not just Bollywood, Hollywood and the likes. Now, those are the stories making waves across social media in Nigeria today. Thank you so much for watching Social Listening. I am Akeminiobong Michael.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by BusinessDay Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insight into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Moses.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day Television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.
Information is everywhere, but insights, that is rare. Business Day Premium gives you analysis, data, and context that keep you ahead. Business Day Premium. Read deeper, decide smarter.
They say money never sleeps. Wake up to clarity, insights, and the stories driving business in Nigeria and beyond.
From the heartbeat of small and medium enterprises to the pulse of national economic policy, this is where business meets perspective. With expert guests, real-time analysis, and stories that matter to you. We go beyond headlines to bring you the full picture.
Join us every morning as we break down the numbers, decode the policies, and spotlight the people shaping our economy. This is Business Money.
We are not just showing off businesses. We're telling the stories behind them. The hustle, the art, the orders, and the wins.
Startup Spotlight, showing every Monday on Business Day Television.
Welcome to the Triumph Against Odd podcast.
Most people go through their lives without knowing what their superpower is, right? But if you're lucky enough and determined enough to find your superpower before you get to a certain stage of your life, you will be incredibly successful.
Look, the first thing is you just decide not to look at the challenges, Because if you do, it's going to end you.
The closest thing I think is that I had a deeply military background, which is a bit of a never say die background.
I saw an opportunity in non-interest banking, and I felt that the demand was there. There was pent-up demand for it. People were yearning for it, and I felt that if we did it properly, if we brought in professionalism into it, and if we brought in our experiences, our various experiences from various backgrounds into it, that it could succeed.
Very few people do that because very few people explore their superpowers. They just explore bread and butter issues. I need to eat, and you know.
Yes, there will be challenges. This is a very difficult business environment. The government keeps working on how to make business easier.
The first problem to overcome is really just starting, right? We thought about this idea for over 2 years before we even took the first step.
You cannot ignore this country. No, and to be from here, I think is an incredible privilege. Nigeria will be ascendant in my lifetime.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
For many years, we've talked about the need to, essentially diversify our revenue stream away from, the huge dependence on oil revenues. It looks like that is happening now. So that means that we're better protected when, you have these wide fluctuations in oil prices and all of that. So it's
as you say, and I agree, that we should commend the government. At least revenues are not falling. There have been times in the past when we recorded drops in revenue. That's not the case today. We're seeing revenues actually going up.
Increasingly, we can see the developed countries focusing on renewable energy and so on and so forth, which means that in the long run, we must look for alternative sources to funding.
So, the government says that crude oil theft has essentially come to an end.
We need to do more to ensure that we totally eliminate crude oil theft and start to think of how to boost production. But it's a good first step. I mean, by eliminating crude oil theft, it also creates an incentive for international oil companies to probably return and, start to take up more projects in the upstream industries.
Stay ahead with Business Day Mobile, your gateway to Nigeria's most trusted business news, market insights, and expert analysis. With a Business Day Mobile app, you'll enjoy more than just news. You gain a seamless, intuitive platform designed to keep you informed and empowered. From exclusive articles to in-depth market trends, the app delivers the stories that matter most. Why Business Day Mobile? For premium access, for a clean, responsive design, for a smarter navigation, for customizable alerts, and for all-in-one business hub. Whether you're a business leader, investor, policymaker, or enthusiast, Business Day Mobile brings you closer to the insights shaping Nigeria's business landscape. Download today and put authoritative business journalism right at your fingertips, anytime, anywhere.
Information.
Entrepreneurship is for everybody, but not everybody is for entrepreneurship.
They are the dreamers.
I remember it was like 3 a.m. by 21st of December 2021.
The disruptors.
Life is not affordable, let's be real.
The doers.
BusinessDay Academy has trained over 3,000 event professionals.
In a place where the odds don't play fair, they play harder.
I would like my business to be remembered as one of the homegrown organizations that has helped with shaping the narrative of this continent positively.
From first-time founders to industry giants, this is where serious business meets unexpected turns.
I could stay up hours of the night just watching things about space.
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma, where we unravel the buzz and glamorous headshots to bring you the untold.
When I went for youth service, where I was sent to, instead of me to go to work, I went to go and learn how to sew.
Raw.
I'm blown away by the challenges they're facing.
and real stories of Nigeria's fearless young entrepreneurs.
And not only yes.
Watch Entrepreneurs Lounge with Norma every Tuesday on Business Day Television.
Attention business leaders. Want to make informed decisions? Join the ranks of the best with Premium Business Day. Access in-depth analysis and expert opinions to stay ahead. Subscribe now at premium.businessday.ng and unlock premium content. Plus, you get 50% off your first subscription. Don't miss out. Make smarter choices and seize new opportunities. Sign up now and elevate your business game. Visit premium.businessday.ng today.
Pleasure of welcoming great supporters and friends from INMA. He's the president, and then of course L. Wilkinson, and then Doreen is heading the work in Africa.
Honored that you're hosting us today. We look forward to a positive exchange of ideas and strategies to make our industry better. With me is Al Wilkinson. He's President and Executive Director of International Media Association. All right, guys. And we're happy to have him here. I'll let him tell you guys more about him and why he's here.
I would leave you with the idea about Business Day. No platform can take it. No AI can replicate it. No competitor can buy it. So here's a little advice. Defend it. Build it. Invest in it. Because folks, the decade ahead is going to belong to news organizations that are unmistakably themselves. They're not boring. They're not neutral. Who are you? Answer that question and you'll figure out the next one. Thanks a lot.
As Nigeria stands at a critical turning point, we move beyond the conversation of mere survival. This year, Business Day presents the 2026 edition of the CEO Forum, themed From Stability to Shared Prosperity. Join the nation's most influential CEOs, policymakers, and business leaders with keynote insights from Taiwo Oyedele, the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, and the Central Bank Governor, Olayemi Kadoso, alongside a powerful lineup of voices shaping Nigeria's economic future. Happening on the 16th of July 2026 here in Lagos. For more information, call Uchenna on 0809 645 3535 or Shegun on 0812 024 3167 or Daniel on 0802 756 4653. This is not just a conference. It's where conversations become decisions that shape the future of business.
This is Business Week, a weekly program brought to you by Business Day Television.
And we're live from Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, bringing you the latest insights into the stories that matter for business and the economy. I am Deborah Eze.
Onyeka Valentine.
I am Destiny Momo.
My name is Elizabeth Musef.
When you think of business, think no more, think Business Day.
I know that Business Day television will go places. It is the next big thing that will happen to the Nigerian media sector without a shade of doubt.